So Rory Stewart went on an unhinged rant about Jeremy Corbyn on his podcast, The Rest is Politics with Alistair Campbell. Rory reeled off a list of why Corbyn is deeply flawed and why he would be a bad Prime Minister. The problem is that the things he said are untrue.
Jeremy Corbyn, for all his good qualities, is an extremely flawed person who would be a very, very deeply unfortunate Prime Minister. He is indecisive, insecure. The way in which he handled the anti-Semitism crisis in Labour was a classic example of that. I mean, whatever the rights and wrongs of it were, he was unbelievably slow to get out, clarify, take action, incredibly prickly and defensive at every stage of it. His views on the world are basically those of the hard left of the 1980s. He is instinctively anti-Western. He had very odd views on Russia, very odd views on Syria, and the people that surround him are very, very troubling ideologues. And I'm very close to a lot of the new Labour MPs who put their careers on the line to try to stop that man becoming Prime Minister. Look, I've got a romantic, idealistic enthusiasm for people like Corbyn in the same way as people might want to chant from Glastonbury. But if you ask me seriously, should this guy be running the country? Absolutely not. I mean, for all his qualities, and I like him very much as a person. Every time I see him, I warm to him. I sympathise with him. But I'm not sure that even he is certain that he would make a great minister or prime minister.
No. I think that's right.
So let's start with the anti-Semitism crisis. Someone needs to pull Stewart out of 2016 as the year is 2025, and no one is falling for it anymore. Since the 7th of October and everything Israel has done since, the majority of people have understood that Israel is a monstrous regime, and the smallest criticisms of Israel gets you labelled an anti-Semite. Now, these things have always been true, but for the majority of people, they are seeing what us Palestine supporters have seen for years. In terms of the way Corbyn handled the crisis, you first have to make it clear that it wasn't a crisis. Every movement, party, and organisation will have people who have messed up opinions. In terms of the way Corbyn handled the crisis, you first have to make it clear that it wasn't a crisis. Every movement, party, and organisation will have people who have messed up opinions. The party swelled to 600,000, and of course, that's going to happen. But there was no more anti-Semitism within the Labour Party compared to other political parties. In fact, I've seen polling that showed Labour members under Jeremy Corbyn harboured the least amount of anti-Semitic attitudes compared to all parties bar the Lib Dems. The media manufactured the crisis, pushed the narrative that Labour was uniquely anti-Semitic in order to attack Jeremy Corbyn and the left. You know the story, we've covered this ever since the creation of this channel. So how could he have handled it better when there were those inside and outside the party who weaponised anti-Semitism for factional gain? Now, he actually could have done a better job, but not in the way Rory thinks. Corbyn could have been firmer and stopped capitulating to people who wanted to destroy the left. The IHRA definitions, for example, which has come up again after Zara Sultana said the left shouldn't make that mistake again. Next, Stewart makes the astonishing claim that Corbyn is anti-West. I mean, what a moronic thing to say. In the eyes of Stewart and the establishment, not following Washington's neocon imperialist foreign policy means you're anti-West. It's not surprising Stewart would say this, as he worked for MI6 for 7 years and was a member of Le Circle, an intel group funded by the CIA. Their main goal was to oppose communism. You couldn't get a more stereotypical imperialist group than this. Oh, and by the way, they supported apartheid in South Africa. There are people who are anti-West in their foreign policy analysis. They seem to think that that in of itself is anti-imperialism. I've come across these people, but they are so small in number. Now, agree or disagree with Corbyn's position, say Ukraine, for example, even if you think he is wrong, he's not anti-West. He has always been about keeping casualties to a minimum. His willingness to negotiate with the other side isn't about conceding to our enemies. It's always been based on anti-war. If I can disagree with Corbyn on some things and still think he's doing it for the right reasons, then so should Rory. But I guess one of us is the grown-up. Then Stewart pulls out the classic pro-Russia line, or his odd views on Russia. It's bullshit. When it came to the Second Chechen War, Tony Blair backed Putin and Corbyn attacked him. Corbyn opposed the extradition from Britain of Ahmed Yakuyev, who was the former Prime Minister of the Chechen Republic Ichkeria, to Russia. He has consistently called out Putin's poor human rights record. Corbyn was accused of politicising the Skripal poisoning when he attacked the Tories for having Russian donors. They've always attacked him for being pro-Russia, yet they were literally taking donations from Russian oligarchs. He has a 20-year record of calling out Russia, whilst his detractors who have accused him of being a Russian apologist have sided with them, especially Blair. So more nonsense from Stewart. The next part where he says he knew many Labour MPs and they put their careers on the line to stop Corbyn from becoming PM is the worst part of the video. First of all, I'm not surprised he's close with them because New Labour are literally just Tories, but he's making out that this was some sort of brave thing to do. They wanted to stop Corbyn because he would have ended the gravy train. They didn't want him becoming PM precisely because they wanted to save their careers. They would have been sidelined for being terrible MPs, not to mention the anti-democratic actions of these people, handing the country back to the Conservatives because they hated the idea of redistribution of wealth, ethical foreign policy, and a democratic Labour Party. What these people did will forever be a stain on British politics. And we always hear how the left is so idealistic, and Stewart does the same in this video. I can tell you right now, there is nothing more ideological than austerity, privatisation, and imperialism. These things are destructive, illogical, and they don't work. Privatisation has been a disaster, yet those of us on the left who want public services in public hands, backed by the majority of the country by the way, are called ideological. Austerity has never been an economic necessity, but a political choice. 330,000 people were murdered by Osborne and Cameron and their government, and the whole austerity project was quite literally built on a mistake from an Excel spreadsheet. Someone like Rory is the ideologue. He will continue to support policies despite how harmful they are. Then we hear at the end with Alistair Campbell agreeing with Stewart, which is no surprise for a war criminal who should be in the Hague. We all remember it wasn't too long ago that Stewart thought Corbyn's expulsion from the Labour Party was wrong on an episode of Navarra's Downstream with Ash Sarkar. For once, Stewart was right. He said something sensible and rejected partisan biases, which was short-lived after he was attacked for saying so, causing him to U-turn on what he said. At the end of the day, Rory Stewart is establishment through and through, and now Corbyn has re-entered the political arena, the baseless attacks start again. Remember that we have live shows 3 times per week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 PM discussing the latest political stories. We are trying to go full-time and grow this channel. You can support us by going to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There you can support us monthly via Patreon, or there is another link to a one-off donation. Alternatively, you can become a YouTube member for just 99p. Remember to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.